Please start now. 3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us?
Putting a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Happy Monday. Welcome everybody to Mysteries Beyond the Scenes. My name is Joni Skinner. I am your host this evening. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Monday this week. It's turning fall here, so our leaves are starting to change. The weather is starting to get cooler. It's my favorite time of the year. So I don't know how anybody could be in a bad mood at this time of the year. So welcome, come on in. We are streaming live on the R.I.F.T Nation Network on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So welcome. Thanks so much, Renee. Come on in and enjoy. I've got a good show this evening. I'll wait for a couple more folks to come on into the live stream, but this is a homicide that everybody in the true crime community has been following since at least 2017, the Delphi homicides of Libby and Abby in Delphi, Indiana. And then last week, we thought after a person of interest had been arrested, we thought, okay, this is it. No more bombshells. They've got him. They've got the right guy. Until last week. And then last week, his attorneys filed a Frank's motion. And we'll get into that a little bit later on into the show. It was 130 some odd pages that completely put the true crime community, actually, I think everybody, in a tailspin. Because of what the attorneys brought out in this case. I do know in the beginning of the Delphi investigation, what the defense is now claiming, there were a lot of rumors about this going around on social media. It was rampant. And I blew it off like everybody else. And now they delivered one bombshell after the next. And again, I'm a paralegal by trade. That's my job. So we do know that attorneys will put a spin on things for their case. It's their job. But I think after I read this motion, it really... we've always wondered why on the Delphi murder cases that we've had two sketches. We've always thought, why are there two sketches? Now, if you followed this case early on in the investigation, they released a sketch of a gentleman that an eyewitness saw. And then down into the investigation, another sketch that did not look like the first sketch at all was released. So it was like, why do we have two sketches? Well, in this motion, they tried to answer that question. And I think it makes perfect sense. And if what they are claiming is true, we've got an issue at hand. So it's going to be interesting as this unfolds. And they also brought up something called Odinism. Well, I knew that this was a tradition. It's a Norse tradition. And so, I thought, well, let's do a deep dive into Odinism and see what it is and find out what this tradition is, because I love to study early traditions. So it's very interesting. And so we're just going to review what the astrology has told us from the very beginning. And it's kind of a review of a past show that we've done on Delphi. I've done quite a few of them. And the Delphi information that I've got tonight to share with you all also has some clairvoyant clues as well. So it has some psychic information plus astrology information. And what's crazy is from the beginning, I have listened to what Kirsty McIntosh, who you all know that I talk about Kirsty all the time. I have studied under Kirsty, and she's probably the authority in the world. She's from Australia, has always stated that, I don't know what it is, but the person involved is like associated with a church or religious sect or something. She has always stated that. So it didn't really, I guess it shocked me when I read this motion, but I thought it was so far-fetched. None of us want to believe that this could exist, but if you belong to this tradition, it's a peaceful tradition. Now, was it hijacked to make? We don't know. All we can do is read what his attorneys are saying. Like I said, we got to keep a very open mind with this case. Wait till it gets to trial, because of the fact that every attorney is going to, I've seen it for years, 20 years. They're going to paint their person on a good light. I mean, that's just how it works. That's just how the legal community is. So welcome on in. And after we review this, please stay tuned, because we will have the Otter's Den with Keith on after here. And Keith, if you want to jump in and join me with this presentation, please do. And we are going to, I don't know if y'all have heard the scutter, I don't know, the talk over the social media, what everybody's talking about is October the 4th. What did the astrology show me on the event? I did a chart on it. I thought, I'm going to ease people's minds. I mean, I've literally read where people said, put your phone in the microwave. And I'm thinking, well, my phone doesn't work anyway. This alarm won't go off because half of the back of my phone is gone because I continually drop the darn thing. It doesn't make any noise. So Keith and I are going to discuss what the astrology shows us about October the 4th. And, it's kind of funny. I text Keith and I said, this Libra, because a Libra sugarcoats everything. We all know that. Libras love glitter. They love to say, everything's fine. Everything's going to be fine. It'll all pass. And I said to Keith, I said, I don't know how to sugarcoat this. So, we laughed and I thought, oh, well, so that'll be on at 8 Eastern after this show. So welcome, Tammy. Thanks, Renee. Welcome, Lee. Welcome, girls. Tammy, as we all know, is our search and rescue expertise with her cases. I'm sure she's happy that Texas is starting to get a little cooler so that she can go out and go on some searches. And welcome, Lisa. I'm so glad you guys have joined me this evening. So let's get started with Delphi. And hi, Keith. And I'll see Keith in a little bit. So let's pull up the information. And then I've got the Odinism information to give you all and kind of what the motion said. Now, we're not going to get into all of the information on the motion. Hi, Rhonda. I was a little surprised that the attorneys actually listed people on in the motion that they felt would be persons of interest. So they actually said, this happened and this happened. And I've never seen that with this for a Frank's hearing. I'm surprised the names were not redacted off of that. I don't know why that occurred. So, I'm not a lawyer, but so like I said, and you all know me, we don't name names on this show because people are innocent until proven guilty. That's how our court system works. But nonetheless, we can still get into why there were two. I think there are two sketches. I think it's a very reasonable explanation now. And I've got pictures of the two sketches as well. And also, Miss Tammy says October 4th and something about October the 11th. I only looked at October the 4th. What's October the 11th? October the 14th is eclipse season. We're in eclipse season now. Trust me, October the 4th is wild enough as it is. It's crazy. It's beyond crazy. I don't even know. In an astrology chart, we have what is called a finger of God. And they're pretty unusual. It's 3 planets interacting together. 2 are arguing and 1 is trying to pull them together. It's like a rubber band. Well, on October the 4th, there are 3 active yods, which is called a finger of God. So we'll explain that at 8. There are, well, good. Lisa said good. They're probably hiding. Government is supposed to shut down soon. They're probably going to go hide. I don't know. We'll talk about it then. I don't know, Tammy. I don't know about the 11th. So we'll talk about it tonight at 8. That's crazy. We live in weird times, people. We are living in some bizarre. You know what? The only thing I'm really glad about is that we do have the astrology to navigate. I'm glad because it's a crazy world right now. It's been crazy since 2020. It's going to stop around 2024, end of 2024. We are out of Pluto return in America at the end of 2024. It's when it will start to ease up. We've only got another year of this. We made it 4 years now, 3 years. So here we go with Mysteries Beyond the Scenes. This is the update on Delphi. I don't know how familiar you all are with the Delphi homicides. This is a case that's been very close to my heart for, since 2017 because of the children involved. Now, as many of you know, on February 13th in Delphi, Indiana, 2 best friends, Libby and Abby, took a hike on this bridge, the Mononhigh Bridge. This is a bridge in Delphi, Indiana, small town, where the kids hung out. They would go down to the trails, they would hang out. And Libby, that is Abby in the picture. This is the last picture of little Abby that Libby took while they were on the bridge. Libby, I think, hands down was the hero because she had the wherewithal as a young girl, 13, 14 years old, that when her gut feeling told her something was wrong and there was a weird guy on the bridge, she photographed it. She videotaped it. So at least the police had that to go by. And as we learned in this motion for the Franks hearing, there was no DNA found, apparently, at the crime scene. Interesting. No DNA. Or they didn't have the DNA of the man that is currently in jail. So it was this case without Libby being very brave would have gone cold. There's no question in my mind it would have gone cold. So this is the last picture of little Abby. So here are the 2 best friends, Libby and Abby, And Libby on the left is the one that took the video and the pictures. And this is just a map of the Monon High Bridge. So this is a recreation, and you can find several of them on YouTube where this is how people have reenacted what happened, is that he approached them. And as we all know, we have that very famous audio of guys down the hill. That was taken off of Libby's phone. So this is the videotape of the gentleman that has been now known as BG, Bridge Guy. That is the first sketch that the police released from a witness that saw him that day. And there he is with the blue jacket. Now remember the blue jacket. This is very important. Blue jacket. Elderly person, heavier build, I'd say middle-aged, late 30s, goatee, and the hat. So this is kind of a recap of the story before we get into what they said. This is a picture of the actual crime scene. Now, as you know, as many of you probably know that follow this, down the hill they went and they crossed the creek. The creek, we now found out from the motion, was at a height of 3.5 feet that day. This is February 13th in Indiana. That water was cold, very cold for them to cross that area. As you can see, the creek is down below, and the crime scene is right there, and you can see the caution tape. It's not that far from the creek. So were the girls murdered in the creek and then drug up to this site? We don't know. Some other things that appeared in the motion were that the girls were staged with, we knew the girls were staged. We knew the scene was staged, the crime scene, but we never really knew until the motion came out that they were placed with sticks around them accordingly, that they are claiming were symbols of runes and Odinism. And that's what they are basing the Odinism on, from the different stick placements and different things like that. Now, as many of you know, traditions go back before Christianity, and they are peaceful traditions. So Odinism is not a violent tradition at all. Yeah. And Lee said this, and yes, that's true. There were some details leaked, and it was bad, very sad. And, you know, throughout the years, Lee, that's very true, that a lot of things got out on social media, and, you know, people were in groups, and a lot of things were leaked out. But we didn't know whether or not what people were leaking out was true or if it was false. And I find it very hard to believe, and I don't know what you guys think, but I think had the information that they put down in a legal paper, of course, they're going to sway it towards their client. However, if they didn't have the information, they would not have put that down for a judge, because a judge doesn't like to be lied to. I know that. I mean, I've worked for them for years. So the worst thing that you can do is make up a tale and put it in writing to a judge. It's not going to go over well. So I have to believe we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out, like I said. But I think many people are saying, uh-oh. And if you're on a jury, you just have a little bit of doubt. You know, you don't, if they can plant some seeds with some doubt, because I was reading through this, and it's a lengthy read. You can download it on the internet and get a copy of it. It's interesting. It's almost like reading a novel. And to me, it was excellent lawyering for their client. You know, whether or not you believe that the person that they've arrested is guilty or not, it was good lawyering. And now I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. Apparently, the girls, it was pretty much a pristine crime scene. With, and I hate to say this, with you know, it did get a little descriptive to me, but they have to do that for what they were asking for. When they described the murder scene, it was definitely staged. So we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Excuse me, that's the crime scene. So what happened with this case was in December of 2021, law enforcement announced an online account named Anthony Shots, which we have found out later to learn that this was a fake account that a man named Keegan Klein was using to catfish juvenile girls. So this to me was a big break. On the left side of the slide is Keegan Klein. To the right side is Anthony Shots. Now, this is who he said he was. And he was catfishing young girls. And so the last person that we know that Libby talked to was Keegan Klein on a text, via a text. He was catfishing. And so I thought, well, he's got to be involved somehow. But Keegan Klein has said over and over again that he did not meet her at the bridge that day. But he did talk to her. So now we know that she was catfished. But he apparently did not show up that day. He has since, he was charged with other charges too. So we'll have to see how this plays out. So he's not a person of interest. They have confirmed that with him. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can all see it, you guys. Keegan Klein was not a person of interest. And he's not been charged. He was awaiting 30 other counts. But like I said, again, he has never been charged with the actual homicides of Abby and Libby. So, okay, Lee has a comment. Lee says, I don't get why they said the two girls passed a day apart. I don't know, because in the motion, it states that the coroner gave an approximate time of death between, I believe, now it's in there, Lee, between 2:30 and 3:30, both time of death. And that's from the coroner. So that's what the motion stated about the girls. And both had apparently sustained neck wounds, which we did know. Now, the contents of the warrant. Here we go. This gets a little bit interesting. There was another warrant that a gentleman, that his name was Ron Logan, he had a farm that was up next to the land that the girls were on, belonged to Ron Logan. And for decades, people thought, oh, Ron Logan was accused. I mean, so many people have been accused in this case. It's kind of a shame because, you know, when you start to accuse people, you know, their lives can get in an uproar and can pretty well get ruined. You know, he claims that he was away that day. He was at an aquarium, but a warrant was issued for him. And he fooled with his fish, and you know, they arrested him on unrelated charges. But he has since passed away, I believe, of COVID. He is no longer alive. So let's take just a quick look at the astrology. And as you all know, I talk about Kirsty all the time. And Kirsty said to me, I guess it's about a year ago, I asked, because she is the expert. She's the expert. And I wanted to say what she has said regarding the astrology on this case. And Robert, was Nordic religion stuff done? Yes. And as soon as we get through the astrology and the psychic clues, I'm going to go into the Odin information at what the motion stated with the Odinisms. The Odinisms, yes. That's what they are claiming. That with the branches and the runes. So we'll get into that. And I'll go over the charts very quickly. Now, the astrological profile, according to the charts that, and if you want to get into more details, Kirsty has this up on her YouTube channel. Go check that out. And I do have her permission as well. But according to the charts that Kirsty has done, she did 3 of them. She described what BG would look like. Thinner build, larger teeth, odd-shaped nose, hip and knee issues. Now, we do know also that on the video that Libby took, it appears that BG was limping. Kirsty did these charts before that video was released. She noted medical acid reflux, stomach issues, dirty nails, civil service, military, or farming animals. And the astrology continued, says this person is aloof, older, over 29, mean. And here we go with the church involvement. Works for church, strong. It's been very strong with her, and it was a tradition, almost like this person is like obsessive with some type of religious. And we always thought, well, it's a church. So then we matched it with some clues. Clairvoyant clues were knee, leg surgery. Check who had a knee replacement in the area around 2017. End of 2016, 2017. Somebody had a knee replacement. The names Scott and Crystal came up, right eye issue. And this is a truck driver that's around boxes. Okay. So those are the clairvoyant clues that went along with her charting. Whoops. Sorry about that. Okay, so Kirsty's chart, the last chart, the 2:07 p.m. chart, that's what time that Libby took the Snapchat of him walking towards them. It's the last pic that Libby uploaded to Snapchat. The moon was at a malefic degree, which is 29. So the girls were signified by the moon. It was right in front of them. It's at a dangerous degree. So they were standing right in front of danger. The sun moved over to that 9th house of religion during this time. So again, we've got this tradition religion thing going on. The monster moved below right in front of the girls. Mercury and Neptune shows the Snapchat move. And by then, she felt that BG was almost delusional at that time from what she read on the charts. She also noted something could be buried in the area. There was also a clairvoyant clue that stated something was buried as well. So not only did the astrology say something was buried, but so did the clairvoyant clues. Now, what's interesting about that is that the only way, and you remember that in the back of your mind about something being buried. Okay, there we go with Libby at 2:07. Okay. Now at 3:15, the ride for the girls arrived at the bridge. It was Libby's grandpa. Her phone was called, no answer. Of course, by then, the girls have already been abducted or, So at 3:11, the ride for the girls came. The moon representing the girls is now in the third house, which is communications, squaring the perp, which means the phone was ringing and the sun moon conjunction, the end of the matter hits 0. Therefore, Kirsty came to the conclusion that clearly the end of the matter between 3:10 and 3:11 is when the girls are deceased. The monster started to move away south, away from the scene between 3:10 and 3:11, according to the astrology charts that she did. Okay, so here are the psychic clues, okay? Here are some of the psychic clues. Rosebud, truck driver, 3 counties west. The perp went west. Something is buried. Odd-shaped curved knife with a handle. Bait shop, golf course. 66 miles. Yellow gate with red. Knee, check for surgery. Funny eye, left fingers. Abby stalked. Catfished. Went to meet a boy. So now we do know that they went to meet a boy. So this is the mapping, and you guys have heard us talk about the mapping. That there's the Monon High Bridge. There are her person of interest. Now, surprisingly enough, this goes right to the person of interest's house. Kirsty's mapping went right to the area where the person lived. So, oh, okay. That's interesting, Andrew. I've been through my 18-wheeler on Highway 25 in Delphi, Indiana. That's interesting. Very interesting. So, Kirsty asked an horary chart. Now, remember when I say that's when you ask a question of astrology. Where's the perp living? The chart's ascendant was 11 miles, exact area of mapping. Cancer line goes to Kokomo, Indiana. Saturn line, Churches Park, goes to Rosebud Ranch. Remember, Rosebud was a clue. So the charts had 11 degrees ascendant. The clues were 11 miles from Delphi to a ranch called Rosebud Ranch. The chart said something was buried. The clairvoyance said something is buried. DNA was tainted. We have the golf course. A line goes between the golf course. The chart said animals, farm, driver, ranch, and they both showed a knee. So both, not only did the clairvoyant clues and the astrology clues mapped without the two of us getting together. That's very interesting with Delphi. Now, if you look at this mapping, and remember we talked about Rosebud Ranch, 11 miles, exactly 11 miles from Delphi, Monon High Bridge, is Brookston, where the Redbud Ranch is. Pretty good stuff. And Robert says, FBI profiler always say the perps of serial murderers always take trophies from victims. And you know what? That has been said over and over, Robert, that something was taken, a trophy. So, hi, Susan. Hi, Donna. And Andrew. That's okay. Yeah, they were catfish to be sacrificed or to be a message for the parents, too. And you know what, Andrew? And we're getting to that in just 2 seconds now because of the fact that that's what this new motion for the Franks hearing basically is saying. Okay, and the event chart directly goes according to the clue 11 miles to the Rosebud Ranch. And I wish that's just something that needs to be looked at. So then we find out in another bombshell that in November of 2022, Richard Allen is arrested out of the blue from Delphi. He lives in Delphi. So, in a dramatic twist, he is arrested. And he lives in Delphi. He works at the CVS. What the police told us is that they found a bullet at the crime scene that was from his weapon. Now, according to, and we'll get into this, remember how we had a clue and the astrology chart stated something was buried. This bullet was apparently buried into the ground. However, in the motion, it states there's no, basically, I guess, chain of custody. There's no pictures of the buried bullet. There's no pictures of the bullet being at the scene of the crime with a picture. And, I would think if they found a bullet, they would take that picture. So there's a lot of questions in this motion for the Franks hearing. So he was arrested. So here is our Franks hearing request. So what is a Franks hearing request? A trial court is obligated to conduct a Franks hearing only if the defendant makes a preliminary showing that there was reckless disregard in obtaining a warrant. And that's what they tried to prove in their motion. And I'll tell you what they said with that. I think, I'm just speculating. My opinion is I think the Franks hearing request is going to be granted. It's just, I think it is. So now we're going to get to the Franks hearing and what Richard Allen's attorneys suggested, that there were people in the area, like I said, they did indeed name certain names, which we're not going to do here because people are innocent till proven guilty. If you want to read it, you can get it online. But named 5 other people other than Mr. Allen that were involved in what is called Odinism. They claimed it was a hate group. And I thought, well, what is Odinism? I love traditions. What is that? It was a pagan type of a tradition. Well, I think what a lot of people don't know is that the notion of paganism is really generally it's misunderstood today. The name paganism comes from, it's actually a derogatory word. It was kind of like the Christians named it paganism because of the fact it was people that lived out on the farm. It was people that were rural. It was people that were not in the city and not in the main Roman Empire cities. So people were called pagans. Oh, Keith is going to join us. Hi, Keithy.
Hey,
I'm talking about paganism. So
I
I'm talking
heard
about how paganism is misunderstood.
it is a bit.
Right. So Odin is the main god in Norse mythology. He's described as the wise, one-eyed man.
The All Father.
Right. The supreme Norse god of wisdom, war, and magic. He's the king. Asatru is the tradition that is it's a Nordic tradition, and it's kind of like all the other traditions. They have the different gods, different deities. They'll call them deities because it's deities. Nowhere in any of these traditions are there any type of sacrificial type things that go on.
No.
That is what they were alluding to in this motion for the Franks hearing, because of the fact they stated that the girls were posed with sticks that were similar to runes. Runes are the little stones that it's divination. They
Yeah.
go in a little bag, and they're similar to tarot cards,
Yeah.
or it's
Each one has a name.
divination.
Yep.
Now, like all other divinations, there are different deities. And, Odin is the big guy. We have Loki, who is the trickster messenger. Again, we have Mercury, the trickster messenger. We have Eshu, the trickster messenger. We have Seth or Set from Egypt, who is the trickster messenger. They're all one and the same. They all have the same characters, just different names.
Yeah.
So to kind of, I think, pin a tradition that's very rich with ancestor, to me, these are religions. They are very close to nature. It's the Nordic mythology. Odin has his two ravens. He is the god of wisdom, or the deity of wisdom. But at no time is there any sacrificial things done, which was alluded to
No.
in
I've
this motion.
I've never seen anything in any of my research or reading or
No.
whatever that
No.
even comes close to that in that
No.
religion.
Now, the only thing that goes close to that is like 3000 BC is when the Aztecs and the Mayans did that stuff. Egyptians did it too, but traditions evolved. So they stated that there was an F, which is a rune that was written in blood, which is Libby's blood on a tree, but it very well could also be a splatter. We're going to have to wait until we get into court. They stated that the girls were posed very similarly to the Hanged Man on tarot cards, and also the Magician on tarot cards. So, again, I hate to see a tradition, dragged into the mud when, like they said, they do call it a hijack of the Odinism.
Here.
I have abilities, a third eye, empath sensitive here. Cool.
Here's your rune.
Okay. The god meanings prosperity and vitality. So why would that be at a scene? It wouldn't. You know what I mean? So that's the Odinism information. Now, here are the two sketches. Now let's get to the bottom of the two sketch situation. Okay. The two sketches. Oh, there's us. We're in the way of this. We're in the way of the one sketch. Well, everybody's seen that sketch. But the sketch on the left was by, we're going to call her witness 1. The sketch on the right apparently is now witness 2. So witness 2 was a little upset that when the first sketch came out, she said, "That's not the man I saw." The man I saw was wearing a tan jacket. When in the actual warrant, it stated that the BG had on a blue jacket seen by 2 witnesses. So now we have inconsistent statements that were given to put on the warrant. That witness 1 stated there was a blue jacket. Witness 2 stated there was a tan jacket. Now I might have them mixed up. But on the warrant to go into Mr. Allen's home, it stated that both witnesses saw a blue jacket. One of the witnesses stated that the gentleman that they saw was bloody and muddy. And at no time in her statement did she say she saw somebody bloody. She said muddy. So then we have second inconsistent statement written on a warrant.
So the cops jacked with the warrants.
Well, we got to wait and see what comes out at the Franks trial.
Okay.
Because they're going to, I cannot imagine so we've got inconsistent statements being made, according to the defense, by the detective that went out to get the warrant. Again, they stated that the gun or the bullet was buried. However, there are no pictures that show that the bullet was buried, which I would think that would be crucial piece of evidence that needed to have pictures.
Yeah.
None of Mr. Allen's DNA is at the scene of a crime where sticks were placed on the girls. They were posed. It was nothing. No DNA of Mr. Allen. So that is kind of our recap of the Delphi information. I think, if you, like I said, if you want to go in and look at this motion, it's 130 plus pages of this motion. And it's a good read. It's an interesting read. I think it'll give you a lot of information on the crime scene that we did not know before. It'll give you a lot of information. And Lee, most of the time, killers mark their area, stones, sticks, fake flowers. Search teams should look for marks. Yes, and Lee, these were very well strategically placed on the girls, according to what the motion stated. They were strategically placed as ruin symbols. So that's our information, our update with Delphi, guys. So Keith,
yes,
that's it for me for the show. Make sure you guys tune in at 8 for us as we go over October the 4th and the full moon.
Absolutely. I cannot wait.
I know you're going to be, I know. And do we have anything else before we sign off and come back on? And don't forget, every Monday, Mysteries Beyond the Scenes, and every other Monday, the Otter's Den. Tuesday, Raven's Flock and her readings. On Wednesday, what's happening with Hitman Odell. And Thursday and Friday, Crazy Cat Lady. And Love Shack on Saturday. Sunday, the Orion Effect with Mr. Hitman and Miss Rhonda. Anything else, Keith? Rift Nation Network.
I think you covered it.
Okay. I think, oh, wait, Susan is the Viking expert here.
Yes. Yes.
And she is. Let's see what Susan's trying. Let me find this. Okay, here we go. Susan is the expert. The Norse relied on these symbols not only for writing, but sure. Northern first to develop runes, but the Scandinavians soon adopted the symbols for their own use. Yes, Susan. And, that's what I said. They are trying to put this as Odinism as a tradition, which it's actually a beautiful tradition. Again, representing ancestors and their heritage. But they do say hijacked. They did put hijacked in front of it. So that's a good thing that they tried to say that the girls were apparently murdered for whatever reason, for sacrificial reasons. They alluded to that. So, but join us on the Rift Nation and get back on here at 8 o'clock. We got some cool info on October the 4th, don't we, Keithy?
Yes, that's in 11 minutes. Speaking of 11,
11 minutes, we will be back with the Otter's Den. So thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys next week for a new missing persons case. Interesting one from Orlando, Florida. So I will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good evening.
Right.